Sometimes the most important stories are the ones hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone brave enough to see them. Anna Matthews noticed the change in her daughter's eyes first. 7-year-old Sophie had always been sunshine personified, quick to laugh, eager to share stories. But lately, something had dimmed that inner light. Each Sunday when Anna picked her up from her ex-husband's house, Sophie retreated like a small bird folding its wings against the cold. The contrast was jarring. Robert's modern townhouse with its sleek furniture felt more like a showroom than a home. No fingerprints allowed, no toys visible in the pristine living room. "How was your weekend with Dad?" Anna asked. Sophie sat quietly, clutching Mr. Whiskers, her small fingers trembling slightly as they stroked the worn fabric. "Fine," came the whispered reply, almost lost beneath the car's hum. "He's doing it again," Anna thought, remembering how Robert would dismiss her concerns. "You're seeing problems where there aren't any," he'd say. By their marriage's end, Anna had almost believed him. Their modest apartment welcomed them, the worn sofa, refrigerator covered with artwork, the hand-crocheted Afghan adding color against second-hand furniture. Unlike Robert's pristine home, theirs told the story of people who lived there, imperfect but genuine. Sophie curled up on the couch, favoring her right side. During dinner, she barely touched her spaghetti. "My tummy hurts," she admitted quietly. "But Daddy says I'm making it up. He gets mad when I can't finish dinner." "I believe you," Anna said firmly, noticing a bruise near Sophie's wrist. "If your tummy hurts, then it hurts. Tomorrow, we'll see Dr. Rivera." That night, during bath time, Anna noticed yellowish marks along Sophie's ribcage. "I fell at Daddy's," Sophie explained, voice flat. "It was my fault." Later, tucking her in, Anna heard the question that pierced her heart. "What if Dr. Rivera thinks I'm making it up too, like Daddy does?" "Then we'll find someone who will," Anna promised. "I will always believe you." Unpacking Sophie's weekend bag, Anna found unworn pajamas and hidden animal crackers wrapped in a paper towel. What hunger makes a child hide food? What fear? Anna vowed not to question her instincts again. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in a child's world isn't what happens to them, but the silence that surrounds it afterward. Tomorrow, Dr. Rivera would see Sophie, and Anna would make sure someone was listening. What would you do if a child showed signs of suffering but no one believed her? Continue reading to discover what Dr. Rivera finds, and the decision that will change everything. Anna sat nervously in the waiting room, Sophie leaning against her. When the nurse called Sophie's name, Anna felt her daughter stiffen. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'll be with you the whole time." Dr. Marta Rivera had been Sophie's doctor since infancy. Today, her warm smile faltered slightly as she observed Sophie walking into the examination room. "Hello there, Miss Sophie. Your mom tells me you haven't been feeling well." Sophie hesitantly pointed to her stomach, then her side. The examination proceeded carefully. Dr. Rivera checked Sophie's throat, ears, and lymph nodes. She gently felt Sophie's abdomen, noting when the child winced. "I'd like to check your temperature, and then look at your back and tummy without your shirt." Anna helped Sophie remove her top. The sight made both adults pause, yellowish-green marks along Sophie's ribcage and back, bruises in various stages of healing. "How did you get these marks?" the doctor asked casually. "I fall a lot," Sophie whispered, "at Daddy's. The stairs are really big there." "And your tummy has been hurting? For how long?" "A while," Sophie said. "But Daddy says I'm just trying to get attention." After Sophie chose a sticker from the treasure box in the waiting room, Dr. Rivera's professional demeanor shifted. "Anna, I'm concerned about what I'm seeing. Sophie is underweight for her age, showing signs of possible malnutrition. The bruising pattern is inconsistent with typical childhood falls." "What are you saying?" "We need to run tests immediately, and I'm legally obligated to report suspected neglect." The word hit Anna like a physical blow. "Neglect? You think Robert is neglecting her?" I can't make that determination, but these signs warrant investigation. Anna thought of the hidden crackers, the unworn pajamas, Sophie's increasing silence. What happens now? She asked, her voice steadier than she felt. First the tests. Then, if my concerns are validated, I'll contact Child Protective Services. Dr. Rivera touched Anna's arm. You did the right thing bringing her in. As Anna joined Sophie in the waiting room watching her select a unicorn sticker, she felt something shift inside her, fear giving way to fierce determination. If Robert was harming their daughter, she would not rest until Sophie was safe. The hospital's pediatric radiology department was designed to feel less intimidating, with colorful wall decals and friendly staff. But nothing eased the tension Anna felt as Sophie was positioned for X-rays. You're being so brave, Anna called from behind the protective barrier. Just a few more pictures. Sophie lay still, eyes fixed on the ceiling's glow-in-the-dark stars. Anna's heart ached at how accustomed her daughter seemed to discomfort, how she didn't complain or cry, just endured with resignation no child should possess. After the X-rays, they waited in a small consultation room, Sophie coloring listlessly. When Dr. Rivera entered with a radiologist, Anna reached for Sophie's hand. Sophie, Nurse Jen has some cool toys in the playroom. Would you like to check them out while I talk to your mom? Once Sophie left, Dr. Patel placed films on a light box. Ms. Matthews, these X-rays show several concerning findings. Sophie has 2 healing rib fractures that appear to be at least 3 weeks old. There's also evidence of a minor hairline fracture in her wrist that was never treated. Anna stared at the images, white shadows representing her daughter's hidden pain. 3 weeks ago, Sophie had returned from Robert's complaining her side hurt after she fell out of bed. Additionally, there are signs of mild malnutrition. Dr. Rivera took over. Anna, given these findings, I've contacted Child Protective Services. They'll need to speak with you and Sophie. And Robert? Anna asked, her voice hardening. They'll investigate all aspects of Sophie's care. Now I'm recommending Sophie not return to her father's home until this is resolved. Will they believe her? Will they believe me? Dr. Rivera gestured to the X-rays. These speak for themselves. The evidence is clear. When Sophie returned, Dr. Rivera knelt to her level. Sophie, the pictures show you have some boo-boos on your bones that need to heal. We're going to help make sure you feel better. Does that mean I don't have to go to Daddy's this weekend? The hesitant hope in her voice broke Anna's heart. Not this weekend, sweetheart, Anna said, pulling her daughter close. You're staying with me for a while. As they left the hospital, Anna felt Sophie's small hand in hers. The weight of responsibility pressed down, but beneath it was steely determination. She would not let her daughter suffer in silence any longer. The Child Advocacy Center was a converted Victorian house, with a wraparound porch and cheerful yellow door. Inside, comfortable furniture and soft lighting created an atmosphere of safety. Ms. Daniels, the child welfare specialist, met them in what looked like a living room. Sophie, would you like to see our special playroom while I talk to your mom? My colleague has some cool toys there. After Sophie left with the child psychologist, Ms. Daniels's expression became serious. Dr. Rivera shared the medical findings. We'll need to conduct a formal interview with Sophie. What exactly will you ask her? Anna's protective instincts flared. Our specialists use non-leading questions in a supportive environment. Children often feel safer talking to someone neutral. She's afraid of him, Anna said quietly. I didn't realize how much until now. Sophie's interview was conducted in a specially designed room. Anna watched through a one-way window, her heart breaking as her daughter sat small and solemn across from the gentle psychologist. Can you tell me about staying at your daddy's house? Sophie studied her hands. It's really clean. I'm not allowed to touch things. What about meals? Sometimes Daddy forgets about dinner. He works in his office and says not to bother him. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Once I was really hungry and ate crackers from the pantry without asking. He got really mad. What happens when he gets mad? He yells, And sometimes he grabs my arm really hard, or he makes me go to my room without dinner because I was bad. How did you get those ouches the doctor saw? Sophie's breathing quickened. I fell down the stairs, but it was because Daddy was pulling me up to my room and I tripped. Her voice became very small. He said it was my fault for not walking faster. By the interview's end, Anna was fighting back tears. The psychologist had uncovered a pattern of neglect, missed meals, long hours locked in her room, minimal supervision, and rough handling. Ms. Daniels joined Anna as Sophie was given a snack. We have enough to file for emergency custody modification. Sophie won't have to return to her father's home while we complete our investigation. As they drove home that evening, Sophie seemed lighter. She hummed softly, a sound Anna hadn't heard in months. Mommy, did I do okay today? Did I tell the truth right? Anna blinked back tears. You did perfectly, sweetheart. You were so brave. Sophie nodded thoughtfully. Ms. Daniels said sometimes grown-ups make mistakes and it's not kids' fault, even if the grown-ups say it is. That's absolutely right, and you never have to be afraid to tell the truth. Not ever again. The road ahead would be long, but Anna felt hope blooming. Sophie's voice had been heard. Her pain had been seen. The courthouse loomed large and imposing. Anna clutched her lawyer's business card as she walked up the steps, her mother beside her for support. Today was the emergency custody hearing. Anna had scraped together savings to hire Ms. Abernathy, a family law attorney specializing in children's welfare. Inside, Anna's stomach clenched when Robert entered with his lawyer. He was immaculately dressed, his expression one of aggrieved innocence. Remember, Ms. Abernathy whispered, he'll deny everything and try to make you look stable. Don't react emotionally, that's what he wants. The judge, an older woman with shrewd eyes, called the court to order. Ms. Abernathy presented the medical evidence, the child welfare assessment, and statements from Sophie's teacher about behavioral changes. When Robert's attorney stood, his strategy became clear. Your Honor, what we have here is a classic case of parental alienation. Ms. Matthews has consistently attempted to damage the relationship between my client and his daughter. Anna bit her cheek, fighting to maintain composure. The child's injuries are the result of normal childhood accidents exaggerated by an overzealous mother. My client provides his daughter with a safe, structured environment, in contrast to the mother's chaotic household. When Robert testified, he presented himself as the wronged party. Sophie is clumsy. She falls often, and yes, I have rules. My home, unlike Anna, who lets her run wild. And the missed meals? Ms. Abernathy asked during cross-examination. How do you explain Sophie's malnutrition? Robert's mask slipped momentarily. She's a picky eater. If she chooses not to eat what I provide, that's hardly neglect. Dr. Rivera's testimony was particularly effective. The pattern of these injuries is inconsistent with typical childhood falls, and Sophie's nutritional deficiencies indicate prolonged inadequate food intake, not simply being picky. The next morning, Anna returned to the courthouse for the ruling. The judge's expression gave nothing away as she called the court to order. Having reviewed all evidence, I find the medical documentation particularly compelling. The X-rays and physician testimony cannot be explained away as normal childhood injuries. She looked directly at Robert. Your characterization of these serious injuries as routine accidents stretches credibility beyond its breaking point. Therefore, I am granting the emergency petition for sole temporary custody to Anna Matthews, with no visitation rights for the father pending the completion of the child welfare investigation. As Robert stormed from the courtroom, Anna turned to Ms. Abernathy. What happens next? We build a stronger case for permanent custody modification, the lawyer said. But today was a significant victory. The judge saw the truth. Anna thought of Sophie, who would be waiting for news, and felt a surge of fierce joy. Today, she could tell her daughter that her voice had been heard, her pain recognized. And then what happened to the princess? Sophie asked, snuggled against Anna on their couch. Story time had become an evening ritual again. The princess discovered she had a special power. She could speak truths that no one was brave enough to say, and when she did, magical things happened. What kind of magical things? The castle walls that had trapped her began to crumble. The thorny vines withered away. People under a spell that made them unable to see clearly, suddenly could see. Again. Sophie considered this. Like when I told Ms. Daniels about Daddy's house. Was that like the princess's truth magic? Anna's heart swelled with pride and sorrow. Exactly like that. You were incredibly brave, and your truth is changing things. 2 weeks had passed since the emergency custody hearing. Sophie's physical injuries were mending, her appetite improving dramatically once the stress of impending visits with her father had been removed. But emotional healing would take longer. Dr. Levine, their child psychologist, had explained that trauma leaves invisible marks needing just as much care as broken bones. Children are remarkably resilient, she had told Anna, but they need consistent safety, validation, and support to recover from betrayal by a trusted caregiver. The legal process continued. Robert had been ordered to attend parenting classes and undergo psychological evaluation. Child Protective Services was still conducting their investigation. Anna had been surprised when Robert's housekeeper called her directly after being interviewed. I wanted you to know, Mrs. Diaz had said. I told them everything, how he would leave the Nina alone for hours, how he would lock her in her room, how I would sneak her food when he wasn't looking. I should have reported it sooner. I am sorry. These confirmations brought Anna both validation and fresh waves of guilt. How had she not known? Dr. Levine had addressed this. You acted as soon as you recognized the signs. Many parents never do. Focus now on moving forward, not looking back. Moving forward meant establishing new routines, new safety, new joy. It meant pancakes shaped like animals on Saturday mornings. It meant playground visits without constantly checking the time. It meant Sophie slowly reclaiming her childhood, one moment at a time. There were still nightmares, still moments when Sophie grew quiet and withdrawn. But there were also breakthrough moments that gave Anna hope. Like when Sophie asked for apple juice, the same brand Robert had always denied her, with confident certainty the answer would be yes. Or when Anna overheard Sophie telling her stuffed cat, Mr. Whiskers, we don't have to be scared anymore. Mommy believes us now. As Sophie drifted to sleep, she murmured, Is Daddy still mad at me? No, sweetheart. Daddy has grown-up problems that have nothing to do with you. Nothing that happened was your fault. Will I ever have to go back there? Not unless you want to, and not unless it's completely safe. I promise. Sophie nodded, satisfied, and surrendered to sleep. Anna watched her a moment longer. The peaceful rise and fall of her chest. The complete trust with which she rested. This was healing too. The ability to rest without fear, to trust that the world would still be safe when you woke. The family courtroom was less formal than criminal courts, but Anna still felt its weight as she sat beside Ms. Abernathy, waiting for the judge. This hearing would determine Sophie's permanent custody arrangement. Robert sat across the aisle with his attorney, his posture rigid. He looked thinner, the polished veneer slightly tarnished. The psychological evaluation had diagnosed him with narcissistic personality disorder. When Judge E. Watkins entered, everyone rose. She was the same judge from the emergency hearing. A positive sign. Today we'll review the proposed permanent custody arrangement for Sophie Matthews, she began. Ms. Abernathy presented their case for sole legal and physical custody for Anna, with potential supervised visitation for Robert contingent on therapy and parenting education. Robert's attorney argued for less restrictions, emphasizing the steps Robert had taken, attending therapy, completing parenting classes, creating a more child-friendly environment. When Robert spoke, something had shifted in him. I've had to face difficult truths, he said, his voice lacking its usual confidence. The psychological evaluation opened my eyes to patterns I wasn't aware of. ways I was repeating my own father's parenting. I failed Sophie. This admission was the last thing Anna had expected. I'm not asking for shared custody, Robert continued. I recognize Sophie needs stability with her mother. I'm only asking for a path forward, a way to eventually rebuild a healthier relationship with my daughter, under whatever supervision the court deems necessary. The guardian ad litem, Sophie's court-appointed advocate, recommended sole custody to Anna, with a stepped approach to supervised visitation only after Robert met specific therapeutic milestones. Sophie has expressed fear about returning to her father's care. However, she has also expressed confusion and conflicted feelings, as most children do about parents who have hurt them. Judge Watkins granted Anna sole legal and physical custody, with a detailed plan for Robert, beginning with therapeutic supervised visits after 3 months of continued treatment, progressing only if those went well, with unsupervised visitation at least a year away. Mr. Matthews, this path allows for potential reconciliation but places the burden entirely on you to prove, through consistent actions, that you can be the father she deserves. Outside the courtroom, Robert approached Anna. I know you have no reason to believe me, but I am sorry, not just for how this affects my visitation, but for what I did to Sophie. He hesitated. Would you tell her that? Anna studied the face of the man she had once loved. Sophie has an excellent therapist. When she's ready to hear from you, it will be in that safe environment. That's not my decision. It's what's best for her healing. Later, telling Sophie about the court's decision was a careful balancing act, emphasizing her safety while avoiding demonizing her father. So I'll stay with you all the time now? Sophie had asked. Yes, sweetheart, this is your home. And I don't have to see Daddy unless I want to, and only with Dr. Levine there. That's right, everything happens at a pace that feels safe for you. Sophie nodded, absorbing this. Is Daddy still my daddy, even if I don't see him? Of course, nothing changes that. Families come in all different shapes. Ours is changing shape, but we're still a family. As they watched the sunset together, Sophie leaned against Anna's side. Mommy, remember the princess story? The one with the truth magic? I remember. I think you have truth magic too, Sophie said. You believed me when nobody else did. Anna wrapped her arm around her daughter's shoulders. That's not magic, sweetheart. That's just love. But as she held her healing child close, Anna thought perhaps love was the most powerful magic of all, the kind that builds bridges across the darkest chasms and lights the way home. Fall gave way to winter, and winter slowly yielded to spring. Outside Anna's apartment window, the first crocuses pushed through the soil, purple and yellow declarations of renewal. Inside, another kind of renewal was taking place. Sophie, approaching her 8th birthday, had grown an inch taller and several years wiser. Look, Mommy, Sophie called from the living room where she was building with new blocks from Eleanor. It's our apartment building, but with improvements. Anna smiled at her daughter's creation, a towering edifice with colorful blocks representing a swimming pool on the roof, and a slide from my bedroom window to the park. What's this part? That's Grandma's room, and this, she pointed to a blue block set slightly apart, is where Daddy can stay someday, not inside our house, but nearby. Anna nodded, keeping her expression neutral. Sophie's therapist had warned about moments like this, when Sophie would process her complicated feelings about her father through play. The past 6 months had brought significant changes. Anna had found a better-paying position at a marketing firm with family-friendly policies. Sophie had thrived in school once the cloud of fear had lifted. Robert, too, had changed, or appeared to be trying. He continued therapy beyond the court's requirements. The supervised visits, which had begun 3 months after the custody hearing, had started awkwardly but developed a rhythm. Dr. Levine observed each one. Daddy said he's learning how to listen. Better, Sophie had reported after their most recent session. He didn't even get mad when I spilled my juice. Small victories, Anna thought. Baby steps towards something healthier. Today was significant. Sophie's first outing with Robert beyond the therapist's office. They would be going to the Children's Museum, accompanied by the court-appointed supervisor, Mrs. Garrett. Sophie has developed strong protective factors, Dr. Levine had assured Anna. She knows her boundaries now. She trusts her instincts. And most importantly, she knows you believe her. The doorbell rang, and Sophie jumped up, scattering blocks. "He's here." Anna took a deep breath, centering herself. This was about Sophie's healing, not her own lingering anger. Robert stood in the hallway with Mrs. Garrett. He held a small gift bag but otherwise looked different, more subdued, less polished. "Hi, Sophie," he said, his usual confidence replaced by something gentler. "Ready for our museum day?" Sophie nodded but stayed close to Anna's side. "They have a new dinosaur exhibit," she offered tentatively. "That sounds great. I know you've always loved dinosaurs." The simple acknowledgement of Sophie's, interest, something the old Robert would have dismissed, wasn't lost on Anna. After reviewing the schedule with Mrs. Garrett, Anna knelt to hug Sophie goodbye. "Have fun, sweetheart. I'll be right here when you get back." "I know," Sophie whispered, and the simple certainty in those two words spoke volumes about the trust they had rebuilt. As the door closed, Anna felt the familiar twist of worry, but alongside it was something new, a cautious hope that perhaps, with enough work and time, Sophie might eventually have a father worthy of her. She turned back to the scattered blocks, studying Sophie's structure, not a perfect recreation of their world, but a vision of what might be possible. Spaces separate but connected, boundaries clear but not impenetrable. New foundations being laid, one careful block at a time. The community center meeting room was filled beyond capacity. Anna fidgeted nervously at the small table at the front, arranging her notes for the third time. "Deep breaths," Eleanor whispered, patting her daughter's hand. "You're doing a good thing." 6 months had passed since Sophie's first supervised outing with Robert. Life had settled into a new normal. Sophie thriving, Anna growing more confident in her career. Today marked Anna's first public speaking engagement as the newly appointed community advocate for the local Children's Safety Coalition. When the director had approached her about sharing her story, Anna's first instinct had been to refuse. But then she remembered the hospital waiting room, the helplessness before Dr. Rivera had taken action. She thought of other parents sitting in similar waiting rooms, other children suffering in silence. "If it helps even one family," she had told Sophie while discussing the decision, "would that be okay with you?" Sophie had considered this with seriousness. "Will you tell them about the princess with the truth magic?" "If you'd like me to." "Then yes, so other kids know their truth is important too." Now, facing a room full of parents, teachers, medical professionals, and community leaders, Anna began. 2 years ago, I was a mother who didn't know how to help my child. I knew something was wrong, but everyone told me I was overreacting. I want to talk about what happens when we dismiss children's pain, when we choose comfort over truth. For 30 minutes, Anna shared their journey, from Sophie's initial symptoms through the medical discovery, the court battles, and the long road to healing. She highlighted the warning signs she had missed and the institutional barriers that had initially prevented intervention. The response was overwhelming. A kindergarten teacher tearfully described a student showing similar signs to Sophie's. A pediatrician acknowledged the pressure to attribute children's complaints to normal development rather than investigating deeper. Most surprisingly, a family court judge stood up. "Your story highlights critical gaps in our system. I'd like to invite you to speak at our judicial training conference next month." After the presentation, several parents approached Anna privately, some sharing concerns about their children, others confessing situations where they had been the ones failing to listen. As the room emptied, Eleanor helped Anna gather her materials. "You've started something important here." "I just told our story," Anna demurred. "Sometimes that's all it takes. One truth opening the door for others." On the drive home, Anna received a message from Robert about Sophie's science notebook left at his apartment. He'd scanned pages she might need for homework, and mentioned the junior astronomy club she was interested in joining. At home, Sophie was waiting with Mrs. Chen. The coffee table was covered with construction paper, markers, and glitter glue. "We're making posters," Sophie announced, "for kids who need help knowing about truth magic." Anna examined the colorful creations. "It's okay to tell," proclaimed one in wobbly letters. "Grown-ups should listen," declared another. "These are wonderful. What made you decide to make these?" Sophie considered the question thoughtfully. "When you were helping other parents today, I wanted to help other kids too. Maybe we can put these up at my school or at Dr. Levine's office." Anna pulled her daughter into a hug, marveling at the compassion that had emerged from her pain. This was healing of the deepest kind, not just recovering from hurt, but transforming it into something that might prevent others from suffering the same fate. Later that evening, Anna sat on their small balcony with tea, watching city lights flicker in the distance. She thought about ripples, how one action, one voice, one truth could spread outward in ever-widening circles of change. Their story wasn't over, but they had crossed the invisible bridge from silence to truth, from isolation to community. And in doing so, they had begun to build new bridges for others to follow. Streamers hung from the ceiling fan, colorful balloons bounced against the walls, and a homemade banner proclaimed, "Happy 9th birthday, Sophie," in glittering letters. "Mom, Grandma's car just pulled up," Sophie called from the window. She wore her special birthday outfit, a dress with a scientific solar system print and sparkly sneakers. In the year since Anna's first community presentation, life had continued its march forward. Sophie had completed 3rd grade with honors, particularly excelling in science. Anna had been promoted at work and spoken at a dozen more events about child welfare. Today's celebration marked more than just Sophie's birthday. It was a milestone in their journey, a testament to how far they had come. Eleanor arrived bearing gifts and chocolate cake. Sophie beamed, twirling to show off her dress. "Wait till you see the telescope Dad got me. I can show you Jupiter when it gets dark." The casual mention of Dad rather than Daddy reflected the evolving relationship between Sophie and Robert. After 18 months of supervised visits and therapy, they had progressed to unsupervised afternoon outings. Robert had moved closer to Sophie's school and become more involved in her education. The doorbell rang again, heralding the arrival of Sophie's friends. Soon the apartment was filled with happy chaos, the air punctuated with laughter. Mrs. Chen arrived with her granddaughter, followed by Dr. Levine, who had become more friend than therapist. Even Ms. Daniels from Child Welfare Services had accepted the invitation, bringing a telescope-shaped piñata. Anna was distributing juice boxes when the doorbell rang once more. She opened it to find Robert standing awkwardly in the hallway. "I wasn't sure if I should use my key," he explained, referring to the emergency key Anna had recently entrusted to him. "It didn't seem appropriate." "Thank you for respecting that," Anna acknowledged, stepping aside. Their co-parenting relationship had evolved into something neither could have imagined 2 years ago. Not friendship, but mutual respect built around their shared love for Sophie. Robert's therapy had unearthed childhood traumas that helped explain, though not excuse, his past behavior. "Dad!" Sophie called, spotting him. "Come see the solar system model we made." As Robert was pulled into the circle of excited children, Anna found herself standing beside Dr. Levine. "Quite a transformation," the therapist observed quietly. "In all of you." Anna nodded. "Some days I can hardly believe it. Other days I still find myself waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's normal. Trust takes much longer to rebuild than to break. The important thing is that Sophie feels safe expressing all her feelings." Later, as Sophie closed her eyes before blowing out her candles, Anna wondered what her daughter might be wishing for. That night, during their bedtime chat, Sophie confided, "When I made my birthday wish, I wished that other kids would have someone like you, someone who believes them when things are bad." Anna felt her heart constrict. That's a beautiful wish. Is it silly to wish for other people instead of something for yourself? Not silly at all. It's called compassion, and it's one of the most important qualities a person can have. Anna kissed Sophie's forehead. In a way, you're already helping make that wish come true by sharing your story, like the princess with the truth magic. Exactly. Your truth has already helped other children. Ms. Daniels told me 2 families reached out after our school presentation last month. Sophie's eyes widened. Really? Really? Your courage is making a difference. As they set up the telescope, pointing it toward the evening star, Anna reflected on their journey. From darkness into light, from silence into truth, from isolation into community. The invisible bridge they had crossed had become a foundation for helping others find their way to safety. 5 years later, the auditorium buzzed with anticipation as people filled the rows. On stage, a podium stood flanked by a screen displaying children's voices, transforming systems, saving lives. Behind the curtain, 14-year-old Sophie adjusted her blazer, nervous energy radiating from her. What if I forget what I'm supposed to say? She whispered to Anna. You won't, Anna assured her. But even if you did, you'd find the words. This is your story, Sophie. No one knows it better than you. In the 5 years since Sophie's 9th birthday, their lives had transformed remarkably. Anna had completed a master's degree in public policy, becoming the executive director of the Regional Children's Advocacy Alliance. Sophie had blossomed into a confident teenager with a passion for astronomy and peer counseling. Robert remained part of Sophie's life, though. Their relationship had its complexities. He had remarried and had a young son, creating a blended family dynamic that Sophie navigated with remarkable resilience. Today marked a milestone, the first time Sophie would speak publicly about her experiences, joining Anna as a presenter at the national conference Anna had helped organize. Remember, you can stop at any point, Anna said, straightening Sophie's collar. This is completely your choice. Sophie nodded resolutely. I want to do this. If it helps other kids, it's worth being nervous. Anna stepped onto the stage first. 9 years ago, I sat in a pediatrician's office with my 7-year-old daughter, unaware that we stood at a crossroads that would change not only our lives, but eventually the lives of many others. She outlined the systematic changes their case had helped inspire: mandatory training for family court judges, new protocols for pediatricians, educational programs in schools. But statistics and policy changes only tell part of the story. To understand the human impact, I'd like to introduce someone very special. My daughter Sophie has chosen to share her perspective for the first time publicly. Sophie walked onto the stage with measured steps, her back straight. At 14, she bore little physical resemblance to the frightened 7-year-old of years past. But Anna could still see echoes of that child in the determined set of her jaw. Hello, Sophie said, her voice clear despite her nerves. My name is Sophie, and when I was 7 years old, I learned that telling the truth could change everything. For 15 minutes, she shared her story from her own perspective. The confusion and fear she had felt, the relief when her mother believed her, the long journey of healing. The adults in the YAD system eventually helped me, but only after one adult, my mom, refused to ignore what she was seeing. I was lucky. Many kids aren't. You might be the only person who notices a child suffering. You might be the only one who believes them. And that can make all the difference. The standing ovation, was immediate and prolonged. Later, a young resident physician approached them, the invisible bridge.